Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Bullet Train Explosion, a Japanese thriller from 2025 that was directed by Shinji Higuchi, the man who directed the recent Shin Ultraman and co-directed Shin Godzilla. This is a sequel to the 1975 film The Bullet Train, which I reviewed on this channel a few years ago. Hayabusa 60 is an E5 Series Shinkansen, bound from Shin-Aomori to Tokyo, under the supervision of first-line manager Kazuya Takaichi. Shortly after the train's departure, an anonymous caller contacts the headquarters in Tokyo, saying that they have planted a bomb on the train that will explode if it slows down below 100 kilometers per hour. After the bomber destroys a nearby freight train, as like an example, the headquarters orders all trains on the Shinkansen to clear a path for Hayabusa 60, where the driver is ordered to pass through all stations while keeping the bomb a secret to the passengers. So I recently reviewed the movie High Forces and complained about how I am totally not excited about movies that take place almost entirely on an airplane. Well, here we are with a movie that takes place almost entirely on a bullet train. Of course, comparisons will be made to the Keanu Reeves movie Speed from 1994, given the plot similarities, but Speed itself, I've read, was partially inspired by the original Japanese film Bullet Train from 1975. But within the opening 20 minutes of this one, the main conflict is pretty much established and the key players are introduced. The train driver is a young lady who almost does not believe the dispatcher when he tells her about the bomb, but she quickly adapts and goes into professional mode with the required protocols and double checks. We have other workers on the train as well who are informed how to handle the passengers, giving them excuses like technical issues for why they cannot stop at the next few stations. Seems reasonable. However, I did question a few of their decisions after that point, specifically in regard to how they handled the passengers. But, stuff like that is always going to happen in a thriller like this, so no big deal. It's pretty engaging stuff, though. Now, as you might expect, certain obstacles emerge that could derail the train if it continues on its 100 kilometer per hour speed. The filmmakers do a good job of utilizing this element into the film. It gives us some suspense and some fun moments. This is kind of what you want from a film like this. They lean into it nicely and they waste no time in setting things up. Some of the equipment they use during some of the thriller moments are a bit different, since this is a bullet train movie. Which is nice, and it seemed realistic and practical. So I could see some of these items and equipment working in real life if they do exist. There are a few direct references to Bullet Train from 1975, but you can easily follow this, even if you have not seen that movie. The characters are mostly generic, unfortunately, but one interesting element is that one of the passengers on the train attempts to use social media to raise the necessary money to pay off the villain's ransom or whatever. So it's the guy's logic and mathematics were kind of interesting and did make sense. Now, in terms of actors, really the most familiar face here could be Machiko Ono, who is always nice to see. She was in a few J-dramas and even a few big-time Japanese movies from the past few decades. Now, my biggest criticism of this movie is, guess what? The runtime. It's 2 hours and 17 minutes long, which I think is unnecessary in this particular case. The ironic thing is that the main conflict is essentially over near the 90-minute mark, so you could just end the movie there. Instead, they decided to go on for another whole act, and they decided to go all in on some melodrama to finish things off, things like that. A few of the later twists are not really that good. They decide to reenact a scene basically from Speed, and it's a scene that's like almost the exact same scene. You'll know when it happens. So I felt like that scene really wasn't required. And they do insert some social commentary about Japanese bureaucracy, which this director himself already addressed in Shin Godzilla. So in this situation, it didn't work as well. And finally, the protagonists at one point could finish the conflict once and for all, but they would have had to do something slightly immoral, so they decided to conclude things more morally, which kind of put things at risk longer than it should have. So I think the final act, the flaws accumulate a little bit more than the first two acts. So I would say Bullet Train Explosion starts stronger than it ends, but it's still decently entertaining overall. I moderately recommend this. The original Bullet Train is better, even though it actually has a longer runtime. Speed is also better than this. So watch those movies first, and then come to this later if you're interested. It's currently available streaming on Netflix. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.